Okay, hello everyone. I'm back for part two to continue how to find a different picture. So, what I'm trying to say really, it all comes down to what we decide as a species. I'm just saying that the species, human beings, are not being raised to be collectively responsible. They're being raised to be individually ignorant, and the reason they're being raised to be individually ignorant is because the media is capitalizing on their emotions. Think of it this way: a human being is a multidimensional being. You have multiple faculties that you require, multiple dimensions of ways life is happening that require to be acknowledged in order to function. Okay? Now, when the human being wakes up in the morning, it goes through a sequences of actions throughout the day. The sequences of the actions it goes through, it's making a decision based on the consciousness it has of the situation. If the person is emotional, they flow, they hover. They don't actually look at the geometry, the shape, what is actually happening. What other angles could the moment mean? What other angles can the moment be looked at? Most people, just the first wave of information that comes to their mind, I was like this, right? And it took me a while and I'm still training myself. And it's this idea, kind of even in chess they say it, once you find a good move, relax and try to find a better move. So the species has to kind of like relax from its individual ignorance as being a subjective kind of entity and to realize that there's a collectivity here. Now we got to figure out what could be the best win-win strategy. This is a decent proposal. It's not something too bizarre. It's not something, too metaphysical. I'm just saying that it makes sense that we're human beings. We have access to, as an advanced civility, humans can communicate well to each other. We have access to information. We even have access to AI. And what does that mean? That means AI can do a lot of critical thinking for us, right? So now it's a time for human beings to begin preparing for the incredible potentials of the future ahead. Now, does this mean like scientists are trying to create a technology so superior that we're not going to be able to fit into its world? Well, the idea is like at what level of intelligence, like the idea should be that that technology will find an incredible way to either get us to its level or meet us at our level, right? It's pretty much like a kind of flight thing, right? And so the idea is, I would say the kind of cool way to go about this is if we treat that life as like there's a technology, it's a technology, and then there's a user of technology. Consciousness is sitting on the motorcycle of the biological existence. Do you understand? So it's like consciousness is using existence right now as I'm speaking. Okay, now the question comes, this consciousness that is moving the moment, with what sort of, in what is inspiring its movement? Is it just like you're in a river and it's just automatically moving? Or is there a vision, or is there a picture, or is there something, some initiative, subconscious initiative? So the notion is that you are as limited as what you consider yourself to be. There came a moment where I realized all the energy in my life that I have spent on considering myself weak and inefficient was the same amount of energy I could have spent considering the other side. And the issue in my youth was I was not trying, I hadn't realized the beautiful beauty, like the incredible notion of the idea of duality. So I was just looking at one side of the coin. I was like this kid being like one day sad, one day happy, not realizing, it's a duality. Any moment you're happy, you can notice other sadness. Any moment you're sad, you can notice other happiness. Anytime your lighter falls, you can, pick it up, What goes down must come up, Anyways, what I'm trying to say is like in the middle of us living our individual ideologically to our own selves perfect lives. Like what's going on with the species? Like this is the game we have to play. I feel every person feels like they've been waiting, like preparing for something their whole time, the whole life. And guess what? You've been preparing for everybody's destiny. That's what an advanced civilization means. You start treating, let me tell you this way. Imagine an extraterrestrial species in the hypothetical situation in the future, like let's say in a parallel universe of Earth, landed like in a couple hundred years on Earth. In 100 years on Earth, in that parallel, let's say Earth, in that parallel reality. And then humanity was like, yo, aliens, you guys, like, welcome to our planet. And they were like very kind and polite and diplomatic and very enlightened and incredibly benevolent and wise aliens. You know, they showed us some of their technologies, and all of this. But then at the end of it, they were like, we can't help you though. And we were like, why, aliens? You guys are enlightened, you know, but what do you have to lose? I mean, like, don't you want us to be better and all this? And the aliens, imagine, say, we cannot help you until you understand that you are the human familia. You are the human family. You have to have the camaraderie of a species in the trenches of the space-time continuum. We're not just like, you know, friends and enemies. Do you understand? We are, they say the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's like an ancient saying. So what does that mean? The unknown that challenges all of our lives is what we have to all pay attention to. So I'm trying to get the whole species to in some sense tackle this problem, to try to solve the problem of the most greatest problems on this planet. You know what? It's like if you really want to know you're smart, you got to ask yourself, how much of this world that I'm in for a little time, how much of it do I care for? What is the value? Is the value just physical? Is the value just emotional? Is it a combination? Is it like an orchestra of I did this thing right there and I did that thing right there, and, you know, and I hugged that person and I pushed that person? It's like, what is this, right? And at some point you reach an intellectual position where you realize there are infinite viewpoints. You become literally like an eagle that was living your whole life in the cultural program of the tree of knowledge, on just sitting on a branch your whole life. You fly into the sky. This is really where spirituality makes sense. You know, you fly into the sky and you see the whole forest detached. This is what Buddha was saying. When Buddha detached from his individual life, he remembered all his lifetimes. That's what the bards say. The Buddhist bards say, you know? The Buddhist bards and the bardo say, you know, I'm joking. That's just going too deep. I don't know what it is. A part of me, my ego can't trust the world because there's too many unknown variables to it. So what am I even trusting if I trust it, right? Like that's believe it or not, like I have that view. But when it comes to the inner realms, all the inner realms can do is trust. Do you understand? Consciousness can do either, like it's either just existing, or it trusts its existence, and then that's when living activates. That's when your personality, that kid I was telling you who I was, that's what I realized years later. Do you understand? That person trusted who they were, so it was okay being who they were. A lot of young people don't trust who they are because they don't know who they are, you know? And I wondered why, and later on I realized that kid was also like his environment. He probably had like very lovely parents or something, you know? And of course, you know, I don't think there's anyone lovelier than my own parents, but you know, especially if my parents are here. You know what it is? It's just the potential, right? Like, do you know, I asked myself at some point, like, who are the people I want to be around? You know, I think everybody asks that question at some point. They're like, where do I want to even be? What do I even want to be? Why am I even being? Do you know? It's like when you ask those basic questions, you automatically become a philosopher because you realize how much of it is just self-kept projection. Not a lot of people understand the beauty. This is why, for a scholar, okay, this is when you know you're a scholar, when you treat your own inner realms as your best approach, and then you constantly like polish the sword with the outer realms. Do you understand? Like, imagine your intellect is like a sword, right? And you sharpen it with reality. Do you understand? Your mind, the way you function as a subjective entity, right? That imagine is like, you know, it's like you're equipped, right? That's why I'm giving it a weapon metaphor, but it's not really like, you know, weapon. I'm not talking about in the cultural sense. I'm just saying about the design of just like back in the day. People have to realize that, you know, especially if a person can't change, I even go through this sometimes, is because they can't realize what else they can be. Now, my curiosity is, what else can the species be? What else can it do? Why is it capable of doing anything? Why did we evolve for 4.5 billion years, for example, to notice our own suffering and death? Isn't that mind-blowing? We were like, yo, why did we survive all this time? Oh yeah, to watch ourselves die? Is that it? And think that's like meaning? Death is a mystery, of course. I have no, some things you can't even have an idea on, you know. But when I wonder about, like, if I think about it, like, okay, do I care for my, let's say if I have children in the future, would I care for them? It's like, yeah. If I have grandkids in the future, would I care for them? Yeah. If I have great grandkids in the future, would I care for them? I'll be like, yeah. But most people after that, they're like, yo, man, I don't care after that. I'm not even around after that. You know, I don't care about them. It's like, what's the point? You know? But let me tell you, that's the error. That's why the species has been living in a fallacy. You might not believe it, but Civilization 1.0, the poets and the modern bards would call it, in some sense, you know, a false civilization, but it's a necessary false civilization. That means it's like even though I said, you know what it is? If I look at things from the past, incredible achievements have been done, right? We're very incredible beings. But if I look at it from the future, we haven't done anything yet. Do you see my view? And so I reached a point in my life where I was like, yo, what? The species hasn't done anything yet. Do you understand? Even if we go extinct in like 1,000,000 years, we haven't even thought what we're gonna do then. You know? So for me, you know, I thought like, yo, what is the common denominator spirit between all ideological systems on the planet? I tried to solve that problem, and I found it. The spirit of advancement. It's a force. The person's like, yo, what is life doing? Advancing. Why is life existing? Because it's advancing. Why is life here? Because it's advancing. It's literally the answer to everything. Because we have no other choice to, in some sense, adjust to the changes of our world and constantly march forth and discover it. Do you understand? There is no student and teachers. Don't be fooled. That's just theater. There's only explorers. 8 billion unknown consciousness exploring an unknown world. That's how it's starting. That's when you really become a free